What kind of manager tells a guy with a busted hand to keep digging holes in 90-degree heat? Shane Collins stared out the window of his pickup, jaw tight. The question had come from a customer voicemail forwarded by the customer service team. A woman said she'd watched one of their landscaping guys limping and holding his side while still hauling sod. She offered to give him water. He refused and kept working. The message ended with, "I don't think he's okay. Someone should check on him." Shane didn't say anything for a long time after hearing it. The landscaping company was his. Built from a rusted wheelbarrow and one old mower 15 years ago. Now 11 crews across 3 counties. He hadn't been on a job site in almost 2 years. He was proud of what he'd built. But lately things felt off. Complaints were up. 2 good foremen had quit in the last 3 months. District Manager Ray kept brushing it off. "It's just the heat, boss. Guys get cranky."
Shane didn't buy it.
So he made a call. Told Ray he was visiting family in Colorado for a week. Then he shaved his beard, dyed his hair salt and pepper, and borrowed his cousin's name, Steve. His cousin was a carpenter over in Idaho. No one at the Southfield crew had ever met Shane. That made it the perfect spot. He showed up on a Wednesday morning at 6 sharp, dressed in steel-toe boots, paint-stained jeans, and a faded hardware store hoodie. The job site foreman, Drew, barely looked up. "You the new guy?"
"Yeah, Steve.
"Ray said you needed help." "Whatever. Grab a shovel." The crew was 7 people. 6 guys, 1 woman. Shane watched them all out of the corner of his eye as they loaded tools into the trailer behind the truck. No morning meeting. No safety check. No one asked if he had training. Just a slap on the back and keep up. They drove out to a large residential property, new construction, half-acre lot. Sod, mulch, flower beds, and a stone wall to install. It was a brutal job for one day. Drew barked orders and sat in the shade, fiddling with his phone. By noon, Shane's shirt was soaked through. He wasn't out of shape, but landscaping under the sun hits different when you've been in meetings for 2 years. He worked next to a tall, quiet guy with a deep tan and a limp. Maybe 30. Name was Luis. Shane noticed right away Luis kept wincing when he lifted the sod rolls. He used his left hand for almost everything, even though it was clearly slower. At one point, when they were laying in the mulch, Shane saw blood stain through the guy's glove. "You all right, man?" he asked. Luis looked up, startled.
"Yeah.
Just scratched it yesterday." "It's fine." Shane crouched beside him. "That doesn't look fine. You should get that wrapped." Luis shook his head quickly. "I'm good. Just don't want to fall behind. Drew gets pissed if we're not ahead by lunch." That didn't sit right. Shane stood and walked back to the trailer, pretending to grab a water bottle. He watched Drew laughing with 2 guys under the tree line while the rest pushed through brutal heat. Back on the job, another worker, Freddie, muttered, "Don't ask questions, new guy. You'll get used to it." By the end of the day, Shane's back ached. His hands were raw, but his mind was racing. Something was off. The team was burned out, Drew didn't care, and Luis was clearly hurt. They packed up at 5. Drew didn't say a word to anyone, just got in his truck and left. Shane helped load the last of the tools. He noticed Luis flinch again as he lifted a wheelbarrow. "You sure that's not broken?" he asked softly.
Luis Geshetati.
Shane added, "I used to do some EMT work. I can tell when someone's in real pain." Luis looked down. "It's fractured. Couple bones in my hand. Happened last week." Shane stared at him. "Why are you still working?" Luis's voice dropped. "Asked for time off. Drew said if I didn't show up, he'd replace me. Said we were already short." Shane didn't speak. He just nodded slowly, jaw tightening again. That night, in his motel room, he stared at the ceiling fan. He felt sick. The company he built was turning into the kind of place he used to swear against. Tomorrow, he'd push harder. Get the full story. And then he'd burn it all down if he had to. The next morning, Shane arrived before the rest of the crew. The sky was still a dull slate gray, the air thick with humidity. He sat on the edge of the trailer hitch, sipping burnt coffee from a gas station cup, watching the gravel lot slowly fill with tired silhouettes dragging their boots. Luis showed up last, moving slower than the day before. His right hand was wrapped in a cloth bandage now, but it was clearly homemade, probably just gauze and duct tape. He nodded at Shane but didn't speak. Drew pulled up 10 minutes late again. His truck door slammed, and he walked straight past everyone without a greeting, heading for the trailer. He emerged with a clipboard and a cigarette tucked behind his ear. "All right, shut up and listen," he called out, voice sharp. "We're splitting crews today. Freddie, Marcus, and new guy are heading to the Franklin site. Luis, take the rest to the Ashwood job. I want the back flower beds in before noon."
No excuses.
Shane raised a hand. "You want me driving the truck?" Drew frowned. "You got a license?"
Yeah.
"Good enough. Take the gray F-150. He tossed the keys without looking. "No check-in.
No confirmation.
Just blind trust that some stranger who showed up yesterday could handle a company vehicle and lead 2 workers on a job site." As they pulled out, Freddie turned from the passenger seat. "You ever done paver edging before?" Shane nodded.
Yeah.
"Used to." Marcus, jammed behind the seat, asked, "Used to what?" "Used to work in landscaping. Family business." Neither of them pressed. They were too focused on their own fatigue to care. The Franklin property was a narrow townhouse lot with a small backyard. Mostly cosmetic work, edging, weeding, some replanting. Shane could tell it hadn't been maintained properly in weeks. Overgrown roots tangled around the flower beds, and the irrigation line was exposed and cracked. He crouched down by the line and tapped it with his knuckles. "This snapped a while ago. You guys report it." Freddie shrugged. "Probably. Doesn't matter. No one fixes anything unless a customer complains twice." Shane stared at him. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Last month we had a sprinkler head spraying the neighbor's car. Took 3 weeks to get someone out. They worked for 3 hours straight. Freddie and Marcus didn't slack. They moved with the rhythm of people used to doing too much with too little." Shane handled the edging, deliberately slower than he was capable of. He wanted to see if either of them would say something. They didn't. But when he bent to lift a heavy bag of gravel, Marcus stepped in. "I got that. Your form's off, you'll mess your back." Shane let him take it. "Appreciate it." By the time they wrapped, the sun was high and punishing. Shane checked his phone almost noon. He texted Drew, asking if they should swing by the Ashwood job to help the other crew. No reply. He decided to go anyway. Ashwood was a larger property, front and backyard, sloped terrain, and a long retaining wall in progress. Luis was there, alongside 2 younger workers who looked barely out of high school. One was raking mulch with the wrong end of the tool. Shane parked and headed over. Luis was kneeling by a flower bed, one knee in the dirt, his wrapped hand trembling slightly as he tried to maneuver a trowel. Shane crouched beside him. "You should stop." Luis didn't look up. "We're behind. You're bleeding through the wrap." Luis finally raised his head. "I can't lose this job." Shane stood and turned to the kid raking mulch. "What's your name?" "Tyler." "Switch with him. Now." Tyler looked at Luis, then back at Shane.
Why?
"Because he's hurt. That's why." Luis didn't protest, just rolled to his feet, pressing his hand to his side. Shane turned and saw Drew's truck pulling up, tires crunching over the gravel. He parked crooked, half blocking the driveway, and got out with a styrofoam lunch clamshell in one hand. "Why the hell are you here?" he asked, walking toward Shane. "Job at Franklin finished early. Figured we'd back up here."
Drew looked around.
"Then why aren't they working?" Shane took a step forward. "Luis needs medical attention. His hand's worse today, and he's still on tools. One of your guys was raking mulch backward, No one's using gloves, and I didn't see a water station anywhere. Drew's face darkened. You don't run this. He didn't give me a doctor's note. What? I'm supposed to babysit every guy with a paper cut. That's a fracture. Drew looked like he wanted to argue, but the silence around him was too loud. Even the kids stopped raking. Shane stepped forward, voice even. You're done. Drew narrowed his eyes.
What?
You're fired. Effective now. Turn over your keys. You can't fire me. Shane locked eyes with him. I can. Because I'm Shane Collins. The crew went still. Freddie whispered, No way. Marcus blinked. That's the owner? Shane nodded slowly.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough. Drew didn't move at first. Then he threw the keys onto the ground and muttered something under his breath as he walked to his truck. Once he was gone, Shane turned back to Luis. You're going to urgent care. I'll drive you. Luis looked stunned. What about the job? It can wait. You can't. He looked at the rest of the crew.
Take a break.
Hydrate. When I get back, we talk. He helped Luis into the truck and pulled away, the silence between them heavy. At the clinic, the doctor confirmed 2 fractured metacarpals. Luis would need a brace and at least 3 weeks off. On the bench outside, Luis stared at the asphalt. I didn't want trouble. I just needed the paycheck. Shane sat beside him. You didn't make trouble. You showed me where it was.
Luis glanced sideways.
What happens now? I fix this. From the inside. Back at Ashwood, Shane gathered the crew. He didn't raise his voice. I'm not proud of what I've seen. No safety. No support. No respect. That ends now. He looked at Tyler. You ever get trained on equipment? Tyler shook his head. You will. Starting tomorrow. Then, at Freddie and Marcus. You've been carrying more than your share. That's changing too. I'll be reviewing every crew. Personally. He paused. You don't have to prove how tough you are by breaking your body. You show me you're tough by looking out for each other. That's the kind of company I want. No one clapped. No one cheered. But no one looked away. By Monday, Shane had already pulled the previous week's job logs, timesheets, and all internal safety reports. What he found was worse than expected. Several sites hadn't submitted equipment checklists in over a month. 2 trucks were being operated without current inspection tags. One crew had logged 10-hour days 5 days straight, no overtime, pay documented.
He didn't waste time.
The company's HR manager, Carla, met him in the office before sunrise. I want active audits on every team for the next 4 weeks, he told her. Unannounced. Start with Southfield. And I want the foreman hiring process frozen until we figure out why we've got people like Drew leading crews. Carla hesitated, fingers resting on her tablet. You planning to let the other managers know what happened? I'll tell them what they need to know.
Nothing more right now.
I'm going back out. Quietly. That afternoon, Shane put on the same worn jeans and hoodie, this time joining the Eastwood crew under a different name. No one had met Steve over there either. The Eastwood site was a commercial office park, clean landscaping, mostly maintenance work and minor irrigation repairs. The crew was older than Southfield's, mid-40s to 60s. Men who moved with the slow, practiced rhythm of people who'd done the same tasks for decades. The foreman was a short, broad man with a sun-scorched neck and a voice like gravel. Name was Dennis. He did a quick roll call, handed out assignments, and gave a short safety rundown without prompting. Shane noticed he didn't carry a clipboard. He remembered everything by heart. Shane was paired with a wiry man named Calvin who barely spoke but nodded once with a kind of quiet patience. Their task was to clear out a clogged drainage swale behind one of the office buildings. The work was wet, muddy, and tedious. Mosquitoes clung to the air like smoke. No one complained. By mid-morning, Shane had already noticed something else. Dennis worked harder than anyone. He moved between crews constantly, checking measurements, offering quick tips, and even correcting a misaligned sprinkler head himself rather than assigning it out. He never raised his voice, but people listened. The crew moved with purpose, but without fear. After lunch, Shane took a moment to lean against the tailgate of the truck while sipping water, watching Dennis kneel beside a younger worker who was clearly struggling to fix a faulty valve. "You're cranking it too fast," Dennis said, not irritated, just firm. "Slow torque. Let the pressure settle." The younger guy nodded and tried again. This time it held. Shane walked over as Dennis stood. "You always train your crew hands-on like that?" Dennis gave him a sideways glance. "If they're going to carry my name on this site, they better know how to do it right. I don't micromanage, but I don't let 'em flounder either." "You lose many people?" "Not unless they move or die." Shane couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Dennis shrugged. "We take care of each other. You do that and people stick." Later that day, a landscaping truck from a subcontractor pulled into the lot. They were scheduled to assist with hauling away debris. Shane immediately noticed the driver, an older man with a full gray beard, stand and watched the Eastwood crew with folded arms and a tight jaw. Dennis approached him. "You're late. Again." The driver didn't answer, just spat near a hedge and motioned to his partner. Dennis stepped closer. "I'm not putting up with your attitude today, Gary. You're here to haul, not to grunt and sulk." Gary muttered, "Just make sure your guys stay out of my way." Last time, one of them scratched the tailgate. Dennis didn't flinch. "No one touched your truck. You scraped it on the loading dock. We've got the camera feed." Gary rolled his eyes.
"Yes, sure."
Always someone else's fault. Shane watched carefully. The tension was clear, not explosive, but lingering. Dennis tightened his jaw and turned to the crew. "Let's move. Don't engage." As they worked, Shane stayed near Dennis. "That guy always like that?" he asked. Dennis kept his eyes on the job. "Been like that since we started using his company 3 years ago. Never outright crosses a line, but he toes it. Real close." "Then why haven't we dropped his contract?" Dennis wiped his forehead with a bandana.
"Tried.
Ray kept saying they gave us a discount rate. Said we needed subcontractors who'd get it done without whining." Shane exhaled slowly. "Would you replace him if it were your call?" "In a heartbeat." That evening, Shane returned to the main office and pulled subcontractor records. Gary's outfit, 3 Pines Hauling, had been cited for 2 property damage incidents and 1 unverified report of verbal abuse toward a crew member last spring. It had been dismissed after Ray claimed there was no proof. Shane sat with Carla again the next morning. "Terminate the 3 Pines contract. Effective today." She looked surprised. "Should I write up a formal report?"
"No."
"Just send them a termination letter and notify legal. If they want a reason, tell them we're restructuring. I don't want them near our people again." He paused, then added, "And I want Eastwood bumped to full audit exempt status for now. I've seen how Dennis runs it. He's solid." Carla nodded slowly. "You thinking of promoting him?" "Not yet. I want to see how he handles things without the pressure of someone looking over his shoulder." That night, Shane called Luis. "How's the hand?" he asked. "Doctors say another 10 days, maybe less if I stay off it." "You need anything?"
Luis hesitated.
"Honestly,
"Just want to come back."
sitting around makes me feel like I'm stealing money." "You're not. You earned that time off. You'll come back when the doctor clears you." There was a pause on the line. "I heard what happened with Drew," Luis said quietly. "Word travels fast. Some of the crew were worried it'd just go back to normal. Like it always does." "It won't," Shane said. "I'm not letting it. But I need people like you to speak up when something isn't right." Luis didn't respond right away. Then, "I didn't think it would matter before. It does now." After hanging up, Shane sat in the quiet office and thought about what came next. He couldn't be on every job site forever. But he could make sure the right people were, and he could stop protecting the wrong ones. The next morning, he met with Carla again. I want a new role created field integrity lead, he said. Someone whose only job is to visit crews, watch without warning, and report directly to me. Who do you have in mind? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find the right person. He stopped at the door. And Carla, I want the foreman training program overhauled. Start from scratch. No more promotions by tenure. I want people who lead like Dennis, not people who bark like Drew. It was slow work, but it was forward. And for the first time in a long while, Shane felt like he was building something again, not just a company, but a place people could stand tall in. On the second Wednesday after Drew's termination, Shane arrived at the Southfield lot just before dawn. He wasn't wearing work clothes this time. He wore his usual boots, but this morning, they were clean, so were his jeans and button-down shirt. Carla stood beside him, clipboard in hand, and behind them, 2 folding tables were being set up by warehouse staff. A stack of fresh gloves, safety goggles, and hydration packs sat at one end. On the other, a tray of breakfast burritos and a large cooler of iced tea. The crews arrived gradually, boots dragging, eyes wary. Word had spread that the owner had gone undercover. No one knew who he'd been, or who he might still be watching through. Shane stepped onto the tailgate of his pickup and waited until the murmurs died down. I'm Shane Collins, he said.
Most of you know that by now.
Some of you worked beside me without realizing it. That was intentional. Hands shifted into pockets. A few heads dropped. Others locked eyes with him. I built this company because I wanted to do work that mattered. And for a long time it did. But somewhere along the way, I lost touch with what was happening day to day. I relied on reports and numbers. And those don't tell the full truth. He scanned the group. Around 30 workers. Many had dirt under their nails even before clocking in. Some still had strain in their shoulders from years of hauling, digging, lifting. I know some of you were pushed too hard. I know some of you felt ignored. And I know some of you got used to thinking nothing would change. But it's going to.
No applause.
Just silence. A different kind. Listening, not waiting. You'll see new faces soon. We've already started hiring additional crew leads. Not just to fill gaps, but to lead right. No one's getting bumped up just because they've stuck around the longest. You want to lead here? You earn it with how you treat people. He looked toward Luis, who stood at the back with his right hand still lightly braced. Some of you kept this company going during its worst moments.
I've seen that now.
And I won't forget it. After the short address, Carla stepped in with logistics, field audit protocols, new reporting channels, anonymous complaint forms, hydration schedules during peak heat. All of it written, posted, and signed off by Shane himself. By mid-morning, Shane was walking the Ashwood site again. Luis had returned in a limited capacity, light duties only. He was pairing with a new hire named Eli, a soft-spoken man in his early 20s with no landscaping experience, but a willingness to learn. Luis moved slower now, but with a calm steadiness that made Eli follow his pace without question. You teaching him how to set the baseline for the wall? Shane asked, crouching beside them.
Luis nodded.
He's good at measurements. Just needs to learn the rhythm. Eli wiped sweat from his brow. Didn't know it'd be this technical. Shane smiled faintly. It's all geometry and patience. You get those 2 things, you'll be fine. Down the slope, Shane spotted Freddie with the irrigation team. They'd been reassigned temporarily to Dennis's supervision to stabilize workflow. Freddie was taking notes on valve placement, asking questions, not just nodding. Shane made a mental note to flag him for the upcoming technician certification program. By late afternoon, Carla radioed in from a site visit at West Branch. We got an issue. One of the new hires, Casey, was caught mocking another worker's accent. 3rd report in 2 days. Supervisor tried to mediate, but the guy doubled down. Pull him off site, Shane said immediately. I'll meet you at the office. Back at headquarters, Shane stepped into the small conference room where Casey sat with arms crossed, eyes fixed on the wall. Carla stood near the door, clipboard untouched. "You know who I am?" Shane asked, pulling out a chair across from him. "Yeah. I'm going to ask you one question. Did you say what's been reported?" Casey shrugged. "I might have said something. Didn't know we were all supposed to walk on eggshells now." Shane leaned forward. "You mocked someone's voice. Said he sounded like a cartoon. Then laughed when others joined in. Do you deny that?" "No." "Then we're done here. You're being released immediately." Casey scoffed. "Over a joke? There's nothing funny about belittling someone for how they speak. Not here. Not anywhere." He stood, opened the door. "Carla will help you collect your things." Once Casey left, Carla closed the door behind her. "We've had worse," she said quietly. "Not anymore," Shane replied. "That's the bar. No tolerance." The next day, Shane visited Eastwood again. Dennis was assembling a new tool rack near the trailer, measuring spacing with deliberate precision. "You built that from scratch?" Shane asked. Dennis nodded. "Lumber was lying around. Figured we needed somewhere to keep things organized. Tired of people tripping over rakes." Shane motioned toward a nearby bench. "Got a minute?" They sat. Shane didn't start with pleasantries. "I'm promoting you." Dennis blinked. "To what?" "Field integrity lead. You'll visit crews. Observe. Report directly to me.
No clipboard inspections, no lectures.
Just your eyes and your judgment." Dennis scratched his jaw. "I'm not a desk guy." "You won't be. You'll be on the ground. Quietly. Watching how things are really run. What happens if I find another Drew? You let me know. I'll handle it." Dennis nodded slowly. "All right. I'll do it." Shane stood. "You'll need someone to take over Eastwood full-time." "I already have someone in mind." "Good. Bring them to me next week." On Friday, Shane returned to the Southfield lot just before closing. A grill was set up this time. Carla had arranged for a small cookout, nothing flashy. Burgers, watermelon, a few shaded tables. Luis sat beside Eli, laughing at something on his phone. Freddie was walking someone through tool cleanup protocol. Tyler, the rake wielder from weeks earlier, was sweeping without being asked. Shane stood near the edge of the lot, arms folded. Carla joined him. "You sticking around for food?" "In a minute." She hesitated. "It's getting better." Shane didn't respond right away. "It's starting to," he said finally. "But we're not there yet." She glanced at the crew. "You thinking of going undercover again?" "Eventually. But not soon. Right now, I need them to see me out here. Not hiding. Just present." As the sun lowered, kids from a nearby neighborhood road passed on bikes, calling out to the crew as they passed. One of them waved at Luis. He waved back. Shane walked across the lot and picked up a broom, helping clear out the last of the mulch scraps near the trailer.
No announcement.
No speech. Just work. Quiet. Steady. Visible.